Welcome back everyone, Mariah Monetize here. In today's video, I am going to be going over what we know when it comes to everything that's happening with Celsius and not being able to withdraw, and obviously the behind the scenes of what's happening at Celsius. So these are the topics that I want to cover today. Liquidation price, not just with Celsius, but Michael Saylor's liquidation price, because I think that where those two liquidation prices are could actually trigger Bitcoin to pull back another 50% or more. 50, not 15. When I anticipate withdrawals to come back on Celsius, how much I anticipate they will let us withdraw when they do let us start withdrawing, what I think they should do when it comes to internally at the company, just the credibility aspect of, I believe they have 1.7 million users or accounts. That might not mean active users. I want to talk a little bit about Celsius and their communication during this time. I don't know if you guys saw, but the Celsius coin just ran from like 50 cents to $2.50. So I kind of want to go over that today. And also the Celsius terms of use. Over on Twitter, I mean, I don't know where these people are getting this information. They always talk about these numbers, but they don't really go into detail on where exactly they're getting these numbers. So I have seen numbers about Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy liquidation being at $20,000. So this is the problem. If that is true, but I've also heard a liquidation price of $3,000 or between $3,000 and $4,000. And then I also heard him come out and basically say that there is more Bitcoin to add as collateral to avoid that. So for the $20,000 number, and I've heard the, approximately $4,000 number. So let's say in this scenario, it's $20,000. Okay, so Michael Saylor starts getting liquidated at $20,000. That's going to trigger a ton of market sales, continuously crashing the price, which right now it's out there that Celsius's liquidation price is between 17 and 18,000, which will then trigger a bunch more market sell orders, which will then take the price of Bitcoin, I don't know, $15,000, $14,000, $13,000. Also, another thing that's going on is we're seeing a ton of layoffs across the cryptocurrency space. Coinbase laying off 18%, as well as BlockFi laying off 20%. And like I mentioned yesterday, BlockFi was raising money at a $3 billion evaluation, and I think their last round of funding, they were raising money at only a $1 billion evaluation, which is wild. So this is what I was talking about when it comes to the liquidation, how it could completely send the crypto into more of a death spiral. So Celsius has 21,960 of Bitcoin sitting on MakerDAO. They came close to a liquidation, not yesterday, but the day before. They topped up with 100 million moving liquidation price down to 18,388. We don't know if they have more Bitcoin to post to protect that. And if this liquidation, if this is liquidated, then 500 million BTC will be market sold. And that's what I'm talking about when taking the price down to $15,000, $14,000, $13,000. So talking about the Michael Saylor situation. Okay, so on May 10th, he basically said that MicroStrategy has a $205 million term loan that needs to maintain a $420 million as collateral. MicroStrategy has 109 BTC that it could pledge. So if Bitcoin falls below 3,562, the company could post some other collateral. Okay, so this is good news because we heard the speculation of being liquidated at $20,000. So that kind of gives us some more hope there. And then Michael Saylor is not expecting to receive a margin call, but no one expected everything that's been happening lately. So that doesn't really mean much. So also saw this post 4 hours ago, hearing that Celsius, so this what I told you about up here, that was posted 18 hours ago. This down here, 4 hours ago, hearing that Celsius has at least another 1,000 BTC ready to post as collateral. At this stage, the liquidation price is around 16,400 before they add the 1,000. So there is some hope that they will survive what's been going on, and that we will hopefully be able to withdraw our funds eventually. So we're going to be talking more about how I feel about that. So 15 hours ago, it was posted their liquidation price was 17,211. But then we have Blockworks saying 5 hours ago, the MicroStrategy risks a margin call of BTC if it drops to $21,000. And the current price of Bitcoin is sitting at $22,500. So we have seen a bit of a jump here. Let's go ahead and head back over to Twitter. So yeah, this was also, Celsius had added also 500 BTC. That was 14 hours ago to get the liquidation price down to 16,852. And so, yeah, they just kept on posting BTC. Not really sure the sources of where that's coming from, but to go ahead and cover their ass. So what we know is that a major issue with the whole Celsius situation was they had a ton of Ethereum locked up. The problem is that it's not like a 30, 60, or 90-day lockup. It's a lockup that you do not know when you'll be able to get that Ethereum out. And I think it was, 73% of all Ethereum that Celsius was holding is locked up Ethereum, staked Ethereum. So that was like one source of the income. We also heard about some mining as well. And then just earning, different yield and stuff. And I mean, I think this whole Celsius thing would have happened sooner, but for some reason they got out of that UST, like the Anchor protocol. What was it, like $400 and something million? So this probably would have happened sooner, and it would have been way, way more intense if that didn't happen. So when do I anticipate Celsius withdrawals to come back? So I think this is going to take some time. Do I think it's going to come back within the next few days or weeks? No, I think this is going to be a 1 month minimum situation. But not just time is a factor, the market is a factor as well. So if we see things kind of bounce back, I think there's more likelihood that we'll be able to withdraw, if we're even able to withdraw in that kind of time frame there. So I do not anticipate Celsius to be like one day, all right, we're back open, anyone can withdraw any amount. I do not see that happening. I see more of like a regulated withdrawal. So whether that's a certain amount or a certain percentage of your holdings, like when they open back up, I don't anticipate of like, oh, you can withdraw all your crypto, even if we are put into that situation. And I hate to like be negative, but you have to mentally prepare to not get those funds back. And that's just part of the game. So I myself have mentally prepared to not get those funds back. And I am treating my portfolio as if I'm not going to get those funds back. This is about managing expectations. If you don't manage your own expectations, you're going to lose your mind. So that's a huge component of all of this, is managing your own expectations. I think that like Celsius was just like one thing that they could do to kind of like increase their own revenue is like they were allowing all these free withdrawals. Okay, well, how about not covering those? Because clearly like they cannot afford it. So like free swaps, things like that, like all the free things that were included on the platform, okay, maybe pull back from that. And now looking back with all of the promos they had to keep funds in your account for extended periods of time, we know that was that potentially a red flag of what was to come, that they were encouraging people to leave their funds on the platform for extended periods of time to lock it up. So I think they just need to redesign things. And like, obviously we loved Celsius because it was free withdrawals and free swaps and all of these things. And it's like, well, maybe they shouldn't have done that because they clearly over leveraged themselves. I think Celsius has 1.7 million customers. I don't know if those are all active accounts or just accounts in general. I mean, it's probably half. I mean, I don't want to even take a guess of if it's 1.7 million accounts, how many of those are actually active. So I think that Celsius needs to like, just like I said, forego some of those things and just redesign, because clearly what they had going did not work the first time around. So I want to talk about Celsius being quiet. I want to talk about Alex being quiet. And this is, at first, I was like thinking about it today. And I was like, okay, So Alex has been super quiet. Like, I understand, like, this guy's putting out fires. He has a lot to consider, a lot to deal with, a lot of problems to solve right now. But then I'm like, you know what? Celsius knew this shit was coming. And you know what he was doing? He was defending the shit out of Celsius on Twitter all the time. Like, I would see him responding to a bunch of people. All of a sudden, he's not responding to anyone anymore, when he should have been focused on solving the problems days before, okay, versus trying to cover up the Celsius brand and credibility. But he was doing that to prevent FUD so that less people would withdraw, but clearly it wasn't working because I think there was a huge amount of people withdrawing. So let's see. So Celsius basically, they made their statement, no more withdrawals. 18 hours ago, they basically said to clear up anything, we are not part of a Cell 2.0 token. Our security team is on alert. And then Celsius Network is working as quickly as possible and will share information as and when it becomes appropriate. Acting in the interest of our community remains our top priority. So, you know, the communication has been pretty bad, I would say. And then not much from Alex last time I checked. He retweeted no more withdrawals, and then we haven't heard from him since, which is funny because he's typically a pretty loud character on the platform. So I don't know if you guys saw, but the Celsius coin went absolutely out of control, which to me was kind of like suspicious, right? I mean, this right here is a 5-minute chart, and we go from 50 cents to $2.57 in a matter of 15 minutes. Yeah, I don't know exactly what that means, but I would say definitely suspicious. So this is the thing, you know, yesterday I made the video, I spoke about like I always talked about the risk of Celsius, but at the end of the day, I would always talk about the risk, not your keys, not your coins, spread out your risk amongst different platforms. And I knew at the end of the day, because this is just how humans are, that people would still blame me. And I'm really good about creating boundaries and knowing exactly what I can and can't expose myself to. So I dabbled a little bit today on Twitter, and I had some response about something along the lines of leading people to like me personally, leading people to bankruptcy. And it was basically for me a reminder that many people do not have the ability to take responsibility for their actions. I myself am blaming nobody for the Celsius situation but myself. If I don't get those funds back, it was because of me. It was the decisions that I made. And for me, this is a concept that I deal with people that are in their 50s and 60s that still do not have the ability to take responsibility for their own actions. And this is when it becomes a problem, because that belief system, not taking responsibility, bleeds into all aspects of your life. And what people typically don't realize, they'll live their entire life and they will never realize that they are responsible for almost all of their suffering. What's an exception? Like losing your child, or losing a spouse, or losing a sibling, like someone really close to you passing away. I think there's a lot of suffering in losing someone close to you. Okay, but when I think about most scenarios, we are responsible for our own suffering. Okay, most of our issues are because of us. Do you not really enjoy your life because maybe it's your job? Well, you chose to be there. Every single day you wake up and you choose to be there. You chose that job the first day and you've chosen it every day since, and you spend a big portion of your life there. Maybe it's your significant other. You chose them and you continue to choose them every single day. Is there an aspect of your life that, are you suffering because of your relationships, because of your job? Because those are the two things that we spend our most time in. Those are things that make most people miserable, and most people choose those things, okay? And this all just ties back into taking responsibility for your own actions and blaming yourself. For example, I had 2 scooters stolen outside my front door. Do you think I was pissed off at the guy that stole them? I even watched him steal it on the video camera, like afterwards. Do you think I was like trying to get the police to go find this guy and get him in trouble? No, I just wanted my scooters back. I didn't give a shit about the guy. But the whole time I was like, those were stolen because of me. I left them in an unsafe place, unlocked. I forgot to put them away. I didn't even lock the handlebars on the scooters. And so they're stolen because of my actions, because of my decisions, because of my mistake. It would be equivalent to like leaving, two scooters worth total like $4,000, leaving $4,000 on the ground and expecting people to walk by and not pick up the money if there's no one around to give it to. It's like, those were stolen because of my mistakes. Like, I'm not mad at anybody except myself. I take full responsibility for the theft of those scooters because of my mistake. And so some people are going to get really pissed that I'm saying this about taking responsibility for your actions. But this is such an important principle when it comes to investing in all aspects of your life. There is this massive emotional side to investing that most people don't really talk about that much, but you have to be able to manage your emotions. I was listening to this great podcast yesterday, the Gabby Reese Show, and she had on this guy that was like kind of like a mental coach, and they were basically on the topic of road rage. Like, if someone cuts you off and you get mad and you start yelling and screaming and cursing, guess what? You're only hurting yourself. You have now caused stress in your body, and you have basically are hurting nobody but yourself by putting your body in so much stress. So it's just like we have to practice managing our emotions. Like, you can feel a certain way, but it doesn't mean you have to respond emotionally to all of it. So let me see if I covered everything here. Oh, I want to go back to the Celsius terms of use, which is actually pretty important here. And let me go back to my likes. Okay, so this is going to tie it all in here. So you're mad. Let's say, you're blaming me. You're going to take out your frustration, your anger on me because of what is happening at Celsius. Well, don't forget that you clicked that little square to agree to the terms of use that said, in the event that Celsius becomes bankrupt, enters liquidation, or is otherwise unable to repay its obligations, any eligible digital assets used in the earn service or as collateral under the borrow service may not be recoverable, and you may not have any legal remedies or rights in connection with Celsius' obligation to you other than your right as a creditor of Celsius under any applicable laws. You agree to that. I agree to that. We all agreed to that. So, if you want to continue to blame me and get frustrated with me, I cannot control. Do you think I really am happy about people losing their money in this space? Absolutely not. I've been rooting for everyone here to try to acquire 1 Bitcoin. And I also mentioned several times, if you have 1 Bitcoin, put it on a hard wallet. Get it off of exchanges. Okay, this is a lesson for all of us. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, go out there and create a portfolio that you love.